Welcome to the interview on the Raptors Republic Podcast Network. And if you hear my voice, you know we're talking about the Raptors 905. And today we'll be talking about the greatest Raptors 905 player in franchise history, Chris Boucher. And to do that, we have his college head coach, helped guide Boucher's Ducks to the Final Four one year and the Elite Eight in his first season. His name is Dana Altman. Coach, thanks for joining us.
No problem, Andrew.
Appreciate it. All right. I was wondering, before 2015, how much New Mexico junior college basketball had you been watching?
Well, not a lot. We were fortunate. We knew of Chris because of our, good standing with a lot of Canadian players. And we had Dylan Brooks, was on the team, and we had DeVoe Joseph, Olu Ashlu before that, Jason Calise. So we had a great relationship with Canada, and we followed Chris through his freshman year at New Mexico and much more his sophomore year, and really intrigued by his talent.
Yeah, there was something intriguing there, especially because he'd only been playing organized basketball for 3 seasons and only started when he was 19 years old. And I was wondering, as someone who usually recruits guys who have been so much, formed from the AAU circuit and had been playing ball their entire life, what kind of opportunities does it present a head coach for someone with so little sort of formal basketball training like Boucher?
Well, I think we were really excited because of his shot blocking ability. It was the first thing that really captured us. We were a little concerned about, just the physicality. He was thin, but he's wiry strong, man. He held up great for us, did a great job on the boards, great job protecting the rim, and his three-point shot kept developing. So he was a lot of fun to work with, and, since he started so late, everything was kind of new to him, and he was just like a sponge trying to pick things up.
It's interesting with his story in terms of coaches. He has an experience that he talks about. He was with the Warriors organization for a brief time. He signed a 2-way contract, and he talked about when he wasn't getting the minutes he thought he deserved, being frustrated, and he said himself he was acting in a unprofessional type of way. And you talk about him being coachable and like a sponge. But was there ever a time, maybe during his first season, I see in his log he wasn't starting for a period during midway through that season. Was there a period where you sort of had to get on him and sort of coach him up in different parts of his first season?
He was at a different stage of his development when I was working with him. And, so I didn't have that problem. He was never difficult, for me. And I was surprised, I had talked with the Warriors and they said he was a little frustrated in that. And his second year for us, Andrew, he offered to come off the bench. He wanted our team to be successful, and he had been a starter, I think, his whole junior year, most of it, and then his senior year for us is when he didn't start, and it was him. He came to me and said, "Hey, Dylan Brooks was coming off an injury, and he just said, let Dylan start. I'll come off the bench." And he had started in front of Jordan Bell the previous year, and Jordan came off the bench, and Chris just said, I'll come off the bench as long as you play me, Coach. And there was no doubt we were going to play him the same amount of minutes. So he was very unselfish for us.
That's interesting. He's got this incredible backstory, and you might not know I imagine you didn't quite know what to expect when he came on campus. He's got, he was homeless for a period in his teenage years. He had a falling out with his mother, and his father had essentially disavowed him, said he wouldn't amount to anything. And with a guy who's so raw on the court and who's had such a difficult backstory, and I imagine you've coached a ton of players with difficult backstories, but do you at all tailor your coaching and your trying to implement principles on him specifically differently, but player by player, especially with someone like Boucher, who's had such a difficult background and hadn't really dealt with authority that much throughout his life. Well, I suppose.
Well, I talk to all our players. This everybody's an individual. Everybody's different, and we play a team sport. But I can't treat everybody the same because everybody's at different stages of development. We have freshmen compared to seniors. We have, guys that have been with me for 2 or 3 years that have done everything right. If they make a mistake, it's different than a guy that, makes a mistake all the time. So, I tell my guys it's a team sport, but we're going to treat everybody differently. And everybody's got, a different role to play on this team. And Chris was no different. He came in as a junior. I didn't know what to expect, Andrew. I didn't know, I knew he was a good junior college player, but I was worried about the physicality. I was worried about a lot of different things. And Chris proved right away that he belonged. I mean, he got in there and mixed it up, and, he started developing that three-point shot. And so he proved right away that he belonged. But off the court, on the court, we treat all our guys as individuals, and we feel like each one of them needs different things from our coaching staff, and we try to provide that. And some guys need us a lot more than others. A lot of our guys, if they come from a two-parent household and have financial resources, they need us a lot less than, someone who comes from a junior college and has come a different route. And I'm an old junior college player, an old junior college coach myself. So I've got a soft spot for those guys that, come up a different way and need a little bit more attention. And Mike Meniga, one of our assistants, spent a lot of time with Chris. And, I was fortunate. I got to spend a lot of time with him and really enjoyed it. Enjoyed getting to know him, and he really made a lot of progress when he was here.
That's great. And you talking about, again, not knowing what to expect. I was reading the second game that he played. He was starting and in place of Jordan Bell, who was injured. He was playing against a 275 pounds forward named Rico Gathers. And does this game ring a bell to you? And because I was reading an article that your assistant coach you just mentioned talked about having no idea what to expect, and then he just played so well. Do you remember that game specifically and
Sure.
how he
No,
impressed you?
we were playing Baylor, the team that won the national title this year. We were playing Baylor at home, and they were ranked in the top 20, and we needed a big win, and we won the ball game, and Chris played really well. But no, Rico Gatter was, huge and physically strong, and but Chris really did a great job, and it was a big win for us. At Chris's junior year, we went to the Elite Eight and actually had a number one seed. We won the conference and won the conference tournament, and Chris was a big part of that team. But no, that was the early indication that Chris was ready to play and would make a major impact, a much bigger impact than we had anticipated.
And in that off season, he gets a Sports Illustrated cover story, and in part, he's described as the unicorn. Now, obviously, your goal is to win and to develop players and get a reputation of developing players that go to the NBA. But when you see that type of publicity for a college kid, and he's coming back to your school the next season, is there any part of you that says, "Uh-oh, I don't know if this is going to go to his head, if it's going to affect him"? Is there any sort of trepidation when you see that type of publicity for, let's say in this example, Boucher in that off season?
Oh, you always worry a little bit how it's going to affect the rest of the team, and how Chris would handle it. But he did a great job. Like I said, he offered to come off the bench 5 or 6
Right.
games into it when Dylan got healthy. But yeah, you always you're concerned. That was quite an article, and he was on the cover, and that was big for him. It meant a lot to him. It meant a lot to our program, and but no, his teammates handled it well, and he handled it well, and it didn't affect him. It didn't affect our team. So I'm sure again that it meant a lot to him. It was a great article, and really gave a good backdrop for what Chris had been through and what he was developing into.
Yeah, and the road has been definitely not linear for him. He gets the cover story. He has a great senior season, but he tears his ACL in the Pac-12 tournament. And he's talked about how he thought he had lost basketball. He goes undrafted and he sees all his friends get drafted. Do you remember that sort of interim period where he's trying to rehab, trying to get himself a pro job, and sort of your role in perhaps keeping his head up as he tried to, stick through what was obviously a difficult process?
Well, I think everyone here, he spent the whole summer with us, and everyone here knew that Chris was capable of bouncing back and being successful. We knew it was going to be a tough year for him, rehabbing and getting through that. But, he had a lot of people here supporting him, Andrew. I mean, Chris is loved here in Eugene and on campus. His mannerisms, the way he treats people was very good. And so our trainer, Clay Jameson, really loved working with him. All the guys were here, and as I mentioned, he was real popular on the team, and everybody felt terrible. I mean, he goes down, and it was a shock. And heck, I can remember on selection show Sunday when they announced that we had a number 1 seed or we were a 3 seed that year, but nobody was excited. Everybody just felt bad for Chris. And, I had to pump the team back up. Hey, fellas, we still got to play here. I mean, I know we feel bad for Chris, and I feel bad for Chris, but, we still got a tournament. We got to try to play. And so it was tough. And Chris handled it so good. He was our biggest cheerleader that whole tournament. He was trying to pump the guys up and on the bench, yelling at them all games. So he did a wonderful job being a good team member.
Yeah, that team was super fun to watch. I remember watching that tournament, and I remember Jordan Bell doing this great interview for the station I work at, and there were tears, and it was such a fun team to root for. But obviously, so his season ends. He goes undrafted. He has this circuitous path with the Warriors and the two-way, and getting waived, and then joining the Raptors 905. He becomes the defensive player of the year and the MVP. And I was wondering, as you see him trying to make his way to the NBA, and now that he's in the NBA, can you compare the experience of watching a player as a coach and now as someone you've coached and are obviously rooting for? Can you compare what it feels like to watch them on the court, from those two perspectives?
Well, all I can say is there's a great deal of pride, that our basketball staff and coaching staff feels, when we watch Chris, when we see what he's doing. We were excited, in the G League when he was Defensive Player of the Year and Player of the Year. I mean, we were fired up about that. And now that he's had some success and, he's just, he's a wonderful young man. His mom's great. She stayed in contact. Had stayed in contact with Mary the whole time. And it's just exciting, and it gives our basketball program great pride to see what he's doing. And whether he's getting 38 or 31 for the Raptors or whatever, we feel very prideful because he's represented our school and our basketball program very well.
Now, if I could inject you with a little bit of truth serum right now. So for me, I watched every G League game he played. And whenever he would get called up to the NBA, if he would go to the basket, it kind of looked like his body would snap in half every time he went up for like a contested layup. He would be on the ground all the time. And even though he won the MVP and Defensive Player of the Year, I would have never foreseen the success he's had this year. He was on the NBA bubble before this offseason, and then the Raptors move, Gasol and Serge Ibaka, and then all of a sudden he's got this contract. Would you have expected for him to have this type of success so early in his NBA career?
No, when he's putting up double doubles, and a 38-point performance, a 31-point performance. The guys bring me in his stats, after most games, and I'm proud of him, but to answer your question, I don't think anybody, would expect those kind of numbers. Those are numbers that, he's had some really big games, and, the consistency has to improve a little bit. But I'm telling you, I'm, again, very proud. But I'd have to say, when they came in and said, hey, and I saw, some clips and, our website, our basketball website here at Oregon, we show those clips. We put it on our website all the time, so I'm able to watch those clips. And he just did some phenomenal things. He's had some games that have been off the charts. So very happy for him. Very happy for he and his family.
Yeah, and I'll get you out of here on this one. I really appreciate the time. As he develops at this suddenly rapid pace, just if we can actually talk about basketball specifically in his game, what do you see as sort of next step, perhaps, in his development? Is it like a dribble drive game? Is it expanded range? Is it something defensively? Like technically, from a basketball coach's mind, what do you see as the next step he ought to take for him to succeed in the NBA?
Well, I think his passing and ability to make plays for others, would be something. Everybody's got to get better on the ball defensively. He does a good job coming from the weak side and blocking some shots. He needs to continue doing that. He can run all day. His resting heart rate was off the charts when he was here. It was like that of a marathon runner, So he can go all day. So, he'll keep going to the boards. But, I'd like to see him continue to improve his consistency game in, game out. And I'm sure the organization would like to see that also.
Yeah, and one thing I just thought of, I'm amazed that people still get their 3-point shot blocked by him. Like he still seems to surprise people. Did you have to work on that discipline of him jumping out at guys for blocked shots all the time? Was that a big point of emphasis? Because in the 905 year anyway, he seemed to jump at everything.
Oh, no, we wanted him running him off the line. I mean, he put a thought in every offensive player's mind. When we had him and Jordan Bell on the floor together, Jordan can block shots also. We had two guys that, potentially could block 100 shots a year. And so, we were trying to contest 3 points. He probably got some of those bad habits from us running people off the line and having Jordan Bell there to clean it up and vice versa. So, part of ours, the college line's a lot closer, Andrew, than the pro line. And you just hate giving anybody an easy three. So running people off the line was a big part of our defense.
Sure. No, and he's definitely improved that defensive discipline, and he's flourishing right now. Unfortunately, he's injured, I should say, but hopefully comes back soon, maybe before the season ends, gets a few more reps in, and continues this sort of amazing ascension. Listen, Coach, we really appreciate the time. I hope everyone's staying safe and well out there in Eugene, and we hope you have an amazing rest of the day.
Well, I appreciate it. I'm very happy for Chris, and sure hope he continues on an upward trajectory. Thanks.